I'd like to introduce our next and final speaker of pressure rising. Tomasz Maj is an Agile coach at McKinsey & Company, and he's especially interested in the long-term aspect of Agile transformations, the sustainability. Oh, what a difficult word. And today, based on his own experience and insights, he will discuss why investing in internal Agile coach capabilities might be a better way to go, and how to train and empower young Agile coaches, like hand events maybe. And personally, he's very passionate about his sneakers, like totally passionate, like sneakerhead. And on the Slack channel, we'll be able to find the answer and try to guess how many pairs does he have in his collection. So, Tomasz, welcome. The stage is yours.
Okay, yes. Hello, everybody. Great to be here. The pressure is on. I'm the last person, so I hope you'll stay. As maybe some of you already are thinking about your evening plans, night dinners, parties. Well, that's not really happening, but let's think in a way that it could have. So today, yes, I want to talk to you about building internal Agile coach capabilities, because it's something I'm very passionate about. It's something that I've spent my last 2.5 years doing professionally. There we go. So today I'll talk to you about this topic, right? The topic of building internal Agile coach capabilities, how to do it efficiently, how to do it well, and how to make it sustainable. But before that, there was a question, how many sneakers do I have? The number is, at this point, it's 41. My goal for the year is to achieve a level of having a different pair of sneakers for every week of the year. So we'll see how we get there. I'm more into Nikes than I'm into Adidas, but I'm not that selective. I do have some Adidas, some Nikes, not into Pumas, Reeboks, or New Balances. Those don't really do it for me. So I do have I like my collection. Some of it I keep it in my car, and some of it I keep it at work, actually, since it is a bit of an disagreement with my wife at times, that it takes too much time in our apartment. But that may be in the Q&A, we can talk about that a bit more. So today, so it's me. Hi, I'm Tomek. Everyone calls me that, even outside of Poland. It makes it easier. Tomasz, the sh sound is not easy for a lot of people that I work with outside of Poland. So Tomek makes it nice and easy. Like I said, I am an Agile coach, like I was introduced. I'm an Agile coach at McKinsey. I help in large-scale Agile transformations, or launching Agile pilots, Agile factories in all different industries. Of course, the banks and telcos of the world, but also recently in supply chain or chemical materials. I've also helped them embrace agility, where the technical, like the software part, is not the key thing there, right? So bringing agility beyond its core, beyond its origins, and applying it to any place I can, because I truly believe agility can be applied to anything, anything there's a complex problem, any place where you want to make a change. And then especially, I don't know if you feel the same, it's a question to you. Do you feel like with remote work and working from home, I believe that it shouldn't be called the Agile ways of working, just be called the ways of working, because the teams I work with, the people I work with, where we embrace some Agile practices, when we embrace some Agile ways of working, I see that it just works better. And it doesn't matter what you do, whether you're selling insurance, or you are in a call center, now home center in some cases. I think it really bringing some of these Agile practices really helps teams be more efficiently. Privately, I'm a happy guy. I have a beautiful wife with 2 super kids, and I love sneakers, but I also love books and reading books. So if you want to connect on Goodreads, I'm also happy to do that. But hey, let me not bore you too much with with this, let me talk to you about why we're here. And I want you to meet Irena. Irena is also the name of my daughter, so I just felt it would be a good name to share the story. So meet Irena. Irena is an employee of a company, and this company recently has said, we are going agile. Everybody, hey everybody, the CEO took everyone to a town hall and said, we are going agile. 1,500 people. We're going to go agile in our headquarters. Are you ready for it? Right? So, and I was like, "Ooh, what is this stuff?" She starts looking, and she's really interested. And throughout today's session, we will walk with Irena on this journey. We will talk about how she got recruited, how she got developed, and then very briefly, like, what is the sustainable model moving forward. Okay, just checking. Yeah, so this is the journey. This is what I really want to talk to you about, right? There is the three elements, I think, of any new agile coach. One of them is this element of recruitment. How do we get them? Where do we get them from? Second is, how do we make them, grow and make sure that they are set for this job? Because I don't believe doesn't always have to be people with a lot of agile experience, right? They should have the agile spirit, but they don't have to have too much agile experience. And then, how to make them a standalone coach. So it all starts from, doing some research. She does some research. Irena does some research on what does it mean to be an agile coach. And, she understands, she reads, and she sees that it's all about self-mastery. So we're looking for people that really want to grow and have this mindset of, I'm in it I want to be better in what I do. I want to have new skills. I'm very interested about the world. I'm interested in what's happening. I just really want to learn. This is a new skill. And I believe this is the future. So this is one of the skills. Coaching, of course, is a very good thing to have, like understanding what does it mean to be a coach? What does it mean to sit with someone and partner together with them to help them along the journey. Third, of course, some agile experience is always a nice to have. It's good to understand what it means, but it's also something that you as an agile coach will do. Finally, understanding the business. I think too many times a lot of coaches are very focused on agility, but they lose the grip or lose the connection with what the business is doing or what is the goal of the business they're working with, right? Too many cases have I seen in banks or telcos or other industries where coaches come with a lot of experience in software development, but then they cannot be really thought partners or coaches with the representative of the business because they don't understand the intrinsics. They don't understand the complexity of the world that these new product owners or other leaders are working in. And then there's a bit of a disconnect and a bit of this misunderstanding that's unnecessary, very stressful. So having an understanding how this company makes money, like, how Reed Hastings recently wrote in his book that he believes that every employee of Netflix should understand the P&L of Netflix. And if they don't, they're pretty much not a good fit to your company. I strongly believe that. Having a good understanding of how your company makes money is also crucial to be a successful agile coach. It's not a must-have, but it's something you should thrive to grow or want to learn, want to understand. And I don't use term Scrum Master, and I will not use it, and we will not use it, and we don't talk about agile coaches from a Scrum Master perspective. It's not also a phase of the journey, because we don't want to limit ourselves to Scrum. There are other agile approaches, ways of thinking, ways of doing things where, it doesn't always have to be Scrum. There can be practices from Scrum, but it doesn't always have to be Scrum. Hence, we are looking for agile coaches, sometimes called agility coaches, but I think agile coaches that bring the core idea behind agile to teams, to companies that they work with. Then, Irena understands what does it mean to be, so what she gets, like the gist of what it is to be an agile coach. Okay, so this is interesting. I want to learn more. And whenever you're launching or you're starting to build internal agile capabilities, you also need to you need to really be public about it. You need to build awareness, about agility itself, but also about the Agile Coach community or whoever the Agile coaches are. What does it mean to be Agile coaches? I've organized brown bag sessions when we still could, right? Lunches, we would have a lunch table and anyone could come and ask. We had meet an Agile Coach section in the cafeteria or in the office. We have organized that in events where we invited everybody from the company to talk about agility. Anyone could join, and the current Agile coaches or with my support or other support would talk about that. Of course, communication internally, posters, all that. You really need to build awareness because the role is very complicated to understand for people that do not have any clue about agility. So you need to make it very really explain it, have weekly knowledge nuggets and things like that. Finally, what I really like doing, and I think it really helps along the Agile transformation, but also bringing Agile coaches, is having workshops around how to apply Agile principles to your everyday job. There where we talk about personal Kanban, some basic design thinking toolkits, like the Crazy Eights, which can use to quickly problem solve, or silent brainstorming, but also just explaining to people what Agile is. So once you build that awareness, people like Irena can come and ask and get familiar with it. So they pretty much know what they sign up for, right? This really helps them understand that this is what they're signing up for. Second, when she finally decides to apply, Irena does. She wants to say, "Hey, I'm in it. I'm going for it. I'm going to apply." You start the internal recruitment process should be no different from an external recruitment process, except for internals you put a bit more focus on one thing, while for externals you put a focus on different things. And also the main difference is when you're looking for external Agile coaches, you are looking for the best of the best. You should, from a pool of 20, 30 applicants, you should look for one, or sometimes zero. You should look for the best. You should not have quotas to select external Agile coaches. You really need to invest in very good, really the best you can. Find them, and then you need to pay them sufficiently to make them really, feel like they are the best, and to bring that knowledge to them. Because internal coaches need mentors. Internal coaches also need people to look up for. So you should look for pragmatic, framework agnostic coaches with experience in large enterprises or working in a corporate environment, because it's very hard to move from that thinking from a small company to a big company and really be able to fit. I don't know, love to hear your opinion on that topic. But then when it comes to internal, it is in all the cases I've done, usually this is an open process, so people can apply, and I've seen that happen where people applied and they they went through this process where first we looked at their CVs, then we did a very a very broad interview just about role fit and a practical exercise, not connected to any very specific agility thing. And then a deep dive on some things we felt that were missing, or we didn't really get a good read in the first part. And then finally they get an offer, and then they start handing over of their current work, because that is also part of the process. Very important is that another approach is that leaders in the organization select candidates, right? So then it's more of an internal decision between the leaders of the transformation or of the Agile community, that they ask other leaders in the organization to come up with names. I've seen that go very well and very bad, right? Went well when we were starting the transformation, and the company decided not to invest at all in external coaches, because the way they've always worked is they really they don't like to rely on external consultants, coaches. So what they did is they spent over a month really looking for potential candidates, and in the end they selected the top 10 that really fit. And then this is where I came in and I started onboarding them. We also did a very slow rollout of agility there with first 2 pilot teams of 2 Scrum pilot teams. And after 3 or 4 months, we rolled out 10 teams. So the ratio was 1 new internal Agile coach to one team. Some of those internal coaches have been Scrum Masters before, so some of them were more experienced, but quite a lot of them were very new to agility, and we really need to make them operational, help them grow in this. But we had a lot of time, so we had 3 months to coach them, to give them some work on some of the smaller teams and pair up with some of the more experienced Scrum Masters that were in the organization to work together, and that really helped them. So then when they moved into the big teams, to the actual new Agile teams, they already had some practical knowledge, and then we continued coaching them, which I will explain in a second. On the other hand, I've seen this to be, and when there was selection done, what the leaders did, they selected people that they were about to let go, and they told them either you become an internal Agile coach or you need to grow outside of the organization. I guess everyone here can imagine how that went. Against our advice, or well, I didn't know that this was happening because I was not involved in the selection process. I later found out from the coaches that I was then helping grow. That was, well, one of the more awkward situations in my career. That happens as well. And then, an open process, I think, is the most fair. You make it a very public thing. You make it open. People who want to join, and they have this ability to change something, to try something new in their careers. And again, here I've seen it where they have a 3 or 6 month trial period. So where they can, their previous position is, let's say, stays, like they come and become Agile coaches, but they have a chance after 3 or 6 months to go back if they want. In some cases, it's a permanent change and their place is filled with someone new. So it really depends on the organization, on their appetite for these type of things. But then what are some of the skills we're looking for, right? So we are really looking for people with eagerness, like I said, passion for learning, conflict resolution. They have to be credible. They have to be able to go to leaders, to people that are still a bit in the old mindset, and be credible that when they have that conversation, they're not afraid, they are ready, and they are brave to have those conversations. And you can see Agile experience is just one of them. And I think if you don't have it, you can still be a great coach. I've worked with people that have no Agile experience, and over time, with the right approach, with the right mindset, they became great Agile coaches. Of course, some things they were still lacking. They needed to improve around operating on the Scrum or in Kanban or in other approaches or in SAFe in some cases. But when it came to the mindset and the way they tackled problems and the way they problem solved with their counterparts, with other colleagues, you could really see that they've embraced their role. They've embraced what they're really meant to do, is help teams be high-performing, ambitious people. So they really embrace that purpose, that mission. There's, of course, some red flags, like a very manager type of mindset that, command and control. You do this, you do that. They rather want to manage everybody instead of actually being partners with them. Very low performer. That's not the type of people we're looking for. Unfortunately, like one of the cases I told you, this happened. Well, that's not the type of people you're looking for. You want these people to be high performers. You want these people to be ambitious. You want these people to be eager to do it, because those are the right people for the role. But hey, so good news. Irena gets the job. Look, she's super happy. She gets the job. Go, Irena, go. She's now ready to go, right? Okay, I got it. Tell me, what's next? So Irena joins what we would call an Agile Center of Excellence, as Agile Center of Expertise, sometimes just called an Agile Coach Squad, or there's many names for it. I prefer Agile Center of Excellence because it just really fits. or an Agile Dojo. That if you want to be cool, I think Agile Dojo is the cool name. Well, she joins this Agile Center of Excellence, right? So here, and she's here, and then what is this? What is the purpose of this Agile Center of Excellence? One is ensuring business performance by helping grow high-performing squads. Second, it's also not only maintaining but developing and improving the company's Agile operating model. And finally, building the best Agile knowledge center and community they can, beyond just their company. They should now really become very vocal and very proud of their Agile community and be like a North Star in the Agile world. You really want this to be an empowered team with ambitious, grand goals, right? So these people want to have fun. You want to really show that this is for them. And then these three goals, these missions drive pretty much the Agile CoE's backlog, Agile CoE's prioritization through quarterly OKR cycles, OKRs being objectives and key results, which also give them a much more defined, that their job is not just to work with teams, but they also need to have a purpose on their own as an Agile CoE. Not only do they have work that they do with teams, but they also should have a mission on their own. So then she will talk to her Agile CoE lead. Usually there should be a lead, and my experience is when the lead is less an Agile coach, more a leader with connections in the organization, understands the politics, understands how the organization works, and knows people and is high enough in the organization to be able to challenge some thinking and also protect his or her Agile coaches. Those are usually the more successful. Making an Agile coach lead, someone especially external or new to the organization, you are not setting it up for success, right? Because you're not. These politics in big companies are very important, and knowing people is also very important. I don't know if you believe or agree with me or not, but I think that is, I believe that is very important. And so having someone who's been there, who knows people, who knows how to operate and fly and flow through the corridors or virtual corridors of an enterprise or a company is really useful. And of course, on top of that, you want to make it very clear to an apprentice coach, as we would call them, or a new coach, how do I grow? So what is it? Where am I now? As you can see, Irena is now an apprentice coach. Where am I now? And everyone that joins the CoE, external and external, in the beginning, they are all apprentice coaches. And it's very important that to a bit humble, but also to make sure, that they go through and they all join in the same level. And at one point, of course, there is a review period, which I'll talk about in a second. But before you finish the bootcamp, before you go through the onboarding process, we're all in this together. We're all on board. My experience here with a lot of companies is external coaches are very good in the ways of working, very good in mindset and behaviors, but sometimes they need a bit of more time to understand how the business works, because you really need to be a complete, a T-shaped Agile coach that is not only great in being Agile, but also great in being a thought partner with other leaders in the organization, because you're also the change agent. You're also the partner, the thought partner, the coach for people you work with. So it's very important that happens. And then for each of these three main categories, there are subcategories, right? Ways of working that can be Agile on team level. So you need to have some basic understanding of Scrum or Kanban. There's also things around facilitation. There's also things around the scaled model that your company uses, things like that. So there are subcategories for mindset and behaviors. It's all about servant leadership. It's about the growth mindset and elements like that. And business acumen is, of course, understanding the macro and micro levels of the organization. You're not going to be like a finance guy, but you should understand the P&L. You should understand the trends in the given business to be a thought, like I said, a thought leader. And of course, for each level, we have a clearly defined progression, right? So an apprentice coach will, from the start, understand what are the skills, what is the experience needed to become an expert coach. It's clear, it's transparent from the beginning, and so you also helps you focus and understand how will I progress, where will I go as I gain more experience, also what to focus on. And this assessment where you are throughout your career as an Agile coach in organizations is a 360 model where you assess yourself, your peers from your squads assess you as well, and also your fellow Agile coaches give you feedback to you regularly around 3 to 6 months. 3 months, at 3 months, every 3 months, there's a light version of the 360, very much on the close, on your very close range. Every 6 months is on the wider range to really give input and feedback. Of course, very transparent. You know, you as the coach propose who you want to give you feedback, because you're not going to ask hundreds of people. You usually outline 8 to 12 people that should give an assessment that your mentor will also talk to, because it should be a personal thing, not like a Google Doc. It should be that your mentor, that you will be paired with throughout your journey, is there, and he's having those conversations based on the growth model that is defined. And it's always different for every company. Sometimes also here I've seen technology, because if the company is very technology focused, you might have a technology aspect, right? So they also have to have some basic understanding of technology. If the technology aspect is very hard or very important. Sometimes I've also seen the coach aspect. I'm not a big supporter of that. I mean, it's a bit more in the mindset and behaviors, but as Agile coaches, I think we'll never be business coaches or life coaches. We are Agile coaches with a spike in agility, but sometimes there is a coach area here as well. But I think this is the most agnostic or the most common 3 buckets that we want our coaches to grow in. Are there any I don't know why, but I can't see Slack. Well, let me try. Okay, I will come back to your question, Sebastian. So in a second. Okay, sorry. So when we think about the onboarding process is also very clear. Irena will start with a boot camp of sorts. These sessions might be full. They will take up the full calendar in Irena's Outlook, let's say, but they usually are not full time, like 8 hours. They're a bit shorter. Why? Because we also want to give time to Irena to hand over her work that she has from her previous position. So she, after these 2 weeks, is able to transition fully into her Agile Coach role. With remote, this has extended. So I've been recently working on a fully remote Agile transformation, where the Agile Coach onboarding took 3.5 weeks, where Mondays and Fridays we didn't have any sessions, and most of the sessions were 3 hours, but spread out a longer period of time, because no one is going to sit in front of Zoom or other type of video conferences for the full day. So we spread them across the day, but also we have more reflection moments, a bit of reading, already there, putting that in place. This is the model I like to apply when we work on the ground, but I've seen this also been simplified to just 3 days, for example, that the bootcamp is actually called a 3-day bootcamp, and that's it. And then from that moment on, you're also transitioned to working with teams where you have but they're always there. The mentor aspect is always there. Why SM and PO training? This is based on my experience when I first did just the Agile Coach Academy of 3 days. A lot of the elements we're talking about in the Agile Coach Academy, or when we talk about the organization-wide Agile practices, it's good to get the basics in there, right? So a basic explanation of what a Scrum Master does and what it is to be a Scrum Master. What does it mean? So it should do like a PSM1 type of training, and then a PSPO1 type of training combined into a 2.5, 3 day event to also enable them to prove their skills by then companies would sponsor the PSM1 or PSPO1 certificates as well, so they can test their skills, really feel like they have built something on their own. Implementing Kanban is also, I think, quite useful because it's good to understand more from the Kanban perspective. That's also a very useful framework or methodology to use with when you work with teams that where Scrum doesn't fit, right? Because we don't want them to be only Scrum focused. Then a bit into intro to tools we use, Jira or others that the company uses to help teams be more efficient. It's good to have that also onboarding. The Agile Coach Academy mostly focuses on mindset and behaviors, on understanding what am I going to be doing, what type of things should I mirror, what type of things should I be doing as a coach. You already have the basic understanding. So we do a lot of simulations, we do a lot of hands-on practices and exercises around running, for example, all the key ceremonies from an anti-persona perspective, or doing a Lego simulation to show, but with multiple teams to see how it works works with multiple teams. Things around mindset and behaviors, mostly the reactive creative mindset, given feedback, active listening, and how do I see myself as an Agile coach? What does it mean? What is the Agile and what is the coach? What does that all mean? The PO toolkit is how to work efficiently with your POs that you will be working very closely with, or whatever leaders you will be working with, to also already have a toolkit that you can come with and already be a partner to talk to work with. And then how does life look in the Agile units you'll be working, like whether it's Agile release trains, tribes, or whatever else you will be using. How does that life look like? And just to also get some practical questions. Usually that's an Ask Me Anything session with current Agile coaches who share their experience, who answer questions that any Agile coach might have. And then after the bootcamp, Irena will get straight to work. We really want, and I believe, and I think we all believe, that certificate trainings are great, but what really counts is practice or practical experience. So we don't want Irena to go through more and more trainings of, 3-4 months. That's a waste of time. She has the basics ready. She's going to be paired up with a mentor, and then we make her roll, and we give her room to try new things to be great at what she wants to do. So a clear cadence, right? So we really try to put emphasis on that. The most important place you should be is with your teams, the teams you work with, 1, 2, in some cases even 3, but usually 1 or 2. And your time should be spent with your team. But there are, I think, 3 main events that bring the Agile coaches together. One is the Agile Coach Lean Coffee that happens, doesn't have to be 2 hours. Sometimes it's an hour and a half, sometimes it's an hour. Usually Thursday after lunch, we meet up, and the whole Agile Coach community brings their issues, their problems, and through a Lean Coffee format, sometimes an open space format, sometimes a very focused topic that also happens. But we sit down, we are part of this, and we solve them together. There's also always every 2 weeks, we try to have a classroom training or a training on a topic that we decide together as coaches on. In the beginning, those sessions are quite long to go into the more bulk stuff, more complex stuff. After a while, they get shorter and shorter, where we just really pinpoint things that we want to focus on. And those sessions are run by the coaches for the coaches, right? So sometimes an external person is brought in, but it's usually coaches teaching other coaches tools where they're great, including business acumen stuff, technology stuff, coaching stuff, others, right? They decide together, the coaching community decides together what they will be learning. And and this really brings us and makes us a community. On top of that, of course, we have Slack, or we have Teams to constantly be able to communicate very easily, or WhatsApp group, whatever, that we are in constant communication. So when things change or we need urgent help or something, we can mob up together and help each other out quickly. That is also a very important tactic here, to always be connected, especially now. Plus, we are responsible, like I mentioned before, right, for the ways of working, for the agile ways of working here. So we should also build our knowledge. So building a wiki, or building a knowledge hub, a knowledge place where we have basic stuff around what is a sprint, what is a stand-up, how to run efficient stand-ups, things like that. We build this knowledge up and we all take ownership of it. And it's also part of the things we work on top of working with teams, that this is every 2 weeks, we are refining, adding new things to our playbooks, to our knowledge pieces. Second thing that really helps us be standalone is also a bit of a skills matrix. So explaining, and then I use a sports analogy here, explaining on like what skills should you focus on as you progress, right? So I think at the beginning, as an agile coach, as you will be working usually with a team or two, you should really get the basics of working on the team level in, right? So whether Scrum, Kanban, sometimes some lean practices as well, depending on the team you're working with, you should get those. And this is where you should invest most of your time. These are the skills you should focus on. And you can continue that. You can really continue growing in that area, like as you progress. But as you get to a more senior role, you should start investing in other skills, or trying to learn other things, like what are OKRs and how do you do enterprise-wide planning in an agile way, things like that, to gain more and more skills, to start building that triathlete skill set. Maybe you always have a spike in something, but you should have basic understanding. You should be balanced. You should be a T-shaped agile coach with a basic understanding, a spike, and some where you can apply your knowledge, your skills in different areas. At the expert senior coach level, we do expect everyone to be a triathlete. Of course, expert coaches should be, by definition, that. There's always a spike, but there should always be a benchmark, which is also defined in the growth model that I showed you, that I talked about before. And then the shadowing, right? So with the shadowing here, you start as you have a mentor, you shadow him, you observe how he operates, how he works, how she or he works. You really are just an observer. But after a couple of weeks, you start running the simple squad events. Finally, you then start facilitating, taking ownership of that. You start taking ownership of squad maturity. And at one point, you do assume the full agile coach responsibility for the teams you are working with. And that also decreases the amount of time the experienced agile coach will be working with you, supporting you, right? So this is very important. I think another important thing is that we always try to hire coaches, new coaches, in a cyclical manner, right? It's not an ad hoc thing. You try to recruit like every 3-6 months. So you bring a cohort, a group of them, match them up to experts. And then, because if they start popping in at random places, also running an intensive bootcamp for one person and like things like that just becomes a hassle. So having it a cyclical thing with cohorts that you coach and you help grow is also quite important. So this is where I would also put the focus on. But never ever will you not have a mentor. No, even the more experienced coaches have mentors. So you can have a mentor and then you can also mentor. It is a very mentor-mentee type of setup throughout the process. You should always have someone who has your back, always someone who you can ask the hard questions and, you know, have those conversations about me, how am I doing, how can I grow, those like a proper coaching conversation, feedback conversation. So what happens after 8 to 12 weeks? Irena will have an honest conversation with her mentor and the CoE lead to decide, am I ready? So after 8 weeks, the first conversation can happen. Am I ready? Do I feel ready that I can be standalone? If Irena says no, it's okay. Take your time. Let's come back to this in 4 weeks. After 4 weeks, you have that conversation again. Usually, if after 4 weeks you do not feel, after total of 12 weeks, you do not feel confident enough to be able to be a standalone coach, junior coach, with support, of course, from the mentor. You're not able to be standalone. You also need to have that internal, honest conversation with yourself. Hey, am I fit for this? Or maybe I should step back. Or maybe I should try something. Maybe this is not a fit for me. Because it's true, like 12 weeks, 3 months is quite a long period of time. And of course, in situations where this was always a bit of, you had that time to go back, yes, but if you don't fit and you've already transferred your job, it is also the responsibility of the Agile Coach CoE lead to connect with other leaders in the organization to find you a spot, because it's just not fair, or a new place or a new home, because it's just not fair towards you, right? You've taken this challenge, and we should be fair towards you to now help you transition to something else. And that's, in most cases, that's how it's done. And the feedback process happens based on the growth model that I showed, happens every three months on a light scale. So on just how are we doing? What is your feeling about this? And every 6 months, there can be a decision to promote, to grow, to go to the next level. Usually, there's a bit of a tenure thing, like you can't every 6 months jump levels. It's very important here to make that sustainable approach, right? Especially that in most cases I've seen, or in most cases, we really try to have the core of the Agile Coach population be the coach level, so like the middle, like the level 3, let's say, and then get people from trainee to junior coach as soon as possible, and then let them grow on the junior coach level a bit, and only a selected few are then becoming senior coaches, and then even less are master coaches or the expert coaches. That's usually a population of 1 to 2 people total. So any question? I'm done. I think it's perfect. 45 minutes is good to leave a room for Q&A. I hope this was interesting for you guys. I don't see your faces. I don't see what you're chatting. So it's always weird, right? So I see some pictures of people with smiles. So I hope it's the picture and how you felt about this is the same. So I'm open to questions. I'm happy to answer as many as I can. I'm also, I'm ready for it. So let me stop sharing.
So Tomasz, if you can take a look at the
Slack, because we have 2 questions there. And do you want us to share the Slack window, or you will share?
Yeah, I mean, if you could share, that would be. I have like so many windows.
Yeah, so we have first questions from Sebastian. Should I make it bigger? Is it visible?
No, I can see it, yeah.
I can see it too.
So what is the difference between a team coach and an agile coach? Are we starting to think up of words at this point? Yeah, I think, that might have been a bit of a typo, but when I thought of team coaches, those would be the junior coaches that are just focused on the team level and making teams great, really helping on the team level, not going beyond like to the wide organization level. So yeah, so that's where I thought like Scrum, like if you use the safe analogy, it would be a Scrum Master, not a release train engineer, things like that. Yeah. Do we make names up? I think we want to be agnostic. So we do try to say, I've seen it go to team coach, agile coach, senior coach, master coach, but I've now been more focused on the trainee junior without even saying agile, just putting emphasis on the coach makes it easier, I think, for everybody. Does that answer your question, Sebastian? I hope it does. Agile Padawan, yes. One of my, let's say, clients in the nomenclature or in their Slack, what they've switched to. So there's a Padawan, there's a Jedi, there's a Lord, and then they have a Lord, and then it's just the master coach is one, and it's the Emperor, which is, I don't know if it's good or bad. If you want to be coaches, want to be in the dark force, apparently we are emotional, so maybe that's why we are in the dark force. If you ever, I'm sorry, geeking out a bit. Yeah. So sorry, is the next question, what's the main difference between Scrum Master and Agile Coach? Yeah, so a Scrum Master is a master of Scrum, right? So I consider a Scrum Master to be an expert in helping teams that work in Scrum, while an Agile Coach is a bit more agnostic. Not all teams use Scrum, and but sometimes you have an Agile organizations where you have a mix of teams using Scrum, some have been using Kanban, and some have been using extreme programming. So I think here it's just that we don't try to put people in boxes, right? So it makes it Agile Coach or Coach makes it much more easier to make it less agnostic. Hope that answers your question. So what made up the Agile Coach Academy? What topics, elements did you raise? So in the Agile Coach Academy, I think there are 3 main levels that are raised. The first one is the first day is all around, a bit focused on me as an Agile coach. What does it mean? So things around a reactive creative mindset, active listening, giving feedback, conflict resolution. Usually that's the first day of the academy. Second day is more focused around working with agility at this company. So you focus on if we're using SAFe, you try to have an understanding, what does that mean? If you have this tribe model, you try to do that. So you understand that aspect of high level agile organization, on a very high level. And then the last day is very practical exercises to teach you a bit of muscle memory around how to run each session. So we have sessions around the key ceremonies or key events that you will be running, like how to do a good planning, how to do a good stand-up, how to do a good retrospective with role playing and things like that. So that's where that's how we would run the Agile Coach Academy. Sebastian, it seems like actual coaching is very different from what has become an Agile Coach. Does an Agile Coach have an actual coaching experience, or is it more like Agile consultant leader? That really depends on the organization. The more recently, it's there is no the coaching aspect would be a sub element of the practices, or like the ways of working. You don't need to be a coach, right? Because I don't think Agile coaches are in that, they don't fit into that business coach, life coach, sport coach field. There are more, I don't know, we could call them something different, right? I always felt that the Agile Coach name works very well here. But I would say they are practicers of agility. Of course, some of them might have some coaching experience, coaching background, but that's never like the primary thing we're looking for, or that's not the most important thing in becoming an Agile Coach. I think it's a name, right? So I've seen it be called a ways of working coach, coming from lean, where you also have lean coaches. So it's for example, just a ways of working coach, or some other names. So that's where we would that's how we would run it. It's just naming. So I don't know. That's all I have to say. But of course, you also play like a consultant role if you think about it. You mentioned the mentor-mentee connection for everybody in CoE, and generally there are one or expert coaches in case of only one expert in CoE who works him. Yeah, so the expert coach could mentor like the 2 or 3 senior coaches. The senior coaches could mentor the coaches, and then the coaches would mentor junior coaches, and then usually we don't want the junior coaches mentoring anybody yet, but on some of the coaches who feel that they want to take up that challenge, some of them, all the senior coaches and all the expert coaches should be mentors and have a mentee. Coaches, like the middle layer, that's up to them. If that's a spike they have, they really want to be a people leader, sure, they can have that. They can do that as well. So you can as a mentor, you can have 2 to 3 mentees even. Yes, tell me about the PO toolkit. This is where I think a lot of cases in the transformation, the Agile coach role is pretty hard, but they have the coach community, and the PO role is also very hard to understand, going from a previous role that you had in this organization, now becoming a PO, for example. So the toolkit really focuses on how to have a good conversation with your PO. What are some of the tools and what are some of the suggestions you can come with to your PO to have a good and structured conversation? Like, how could I efficiently use user story mapping? How can I, why do I need to have a backlog, and how do I use backlog refinement? How to have a good sprint planning, or how do I manage my Kanban board, or how do I manage the team's Kanban board and really help it work on its own? These are some of the skills that are in the PO toolkit. Tatiana, I hope I answered your question here. Sebastian, yes. Seems like Agile Coach has become an appropriation of business coach rules, both with teams and stakeholders for the growth of the company. Sure, but on a different, always bringing agility first, I think, right? So when stakeholders, where leaders, where others have issues with what agility is and why are we even going agile, you as an Agile coach should be able to have that conversation, probably more on the senior or expert level, some coaches as well, to go and talk to senior stakeholders and have that conversation. Explain to them what I think we're doing agility to help our company grow. We're doing agility to help our company grow, where agility is not, we don't want to do agile for the sake of doing agile. No company is stock market price, no company has ever become a better company because they said they're going agile. Agile has to be a means to an end, and a means to help a company be a better enterprise, a better company. So as an agile coach, you should be able to, as a, let's say, a good agile coach, you should be able to talk to senior leaders and explain to them, hey, this is how agile can help you, help us, help our company be better, and why, and have that conversation, and be a peer to them, and be able to take their challenges and face them. So yeah, I agree. I think sure, they can be a business coach, but agility should be the where you focus on. You're not going to tell them how to, you know, you might not be able to have like a conversation with a CFO how to better run their books and things like that. That's not what your role is. Yes, you do want to start an agile transformation with an agile CoE, usually a very small one in the beginning. So when you do the design element of so when you are designing or you're starting the transformation, you should really have a very small core group, usually the Agile CoE lead, who's an internal employee, who now should start looking for his external experts, his external strong agile backbone, because it's a very hard process. It usually takes quite a long time, around 2 to 3 months, to actually get one sensible candidate to really be there. And then when you do the first launch, usually after 3 months from the starting of the planning and the design, or two to 3 months, this is where you also need to put this recruitment process in place. Yes. So also building on the question, the mentor to the Agile Emperor, it's good if the Agile Emperor, or are we saying the master or the expert coach? I think this is where it gets quite complicated. I think expert coaches usually will need to look for mentors outside of the organization, or find someone on a super senior level, usually someone in the leadership of the organization, to be their mentor. But I don't think they're their mentor then on being an agile coach. It's more on being a leader, or being, in the organization. So it's a bit of a different mentorship process. Wow, Sebastian, yeah. Do I think that? I think I wish, I'd say there is always that, El Dorado or Atlantis. No, good. I like tough questions, but I think a turquoise company is like an Atlantis of companies, or it's people talk about it. They've seen it. I mean, we all know that. Maybe most of us know the case of Bootcam, right, from the Netherlands, or maybe some companies like, I don't remember, that tomato company, or Patagonia sometimes tries to be that. We all seen it, but it's like, it's one of those like that rare diamond. I think to become an agile company is good enough. If you want to go into the turquoise thing, I think it's just too much. If you really become an agile company, like a really agile company that has that small teams, that network of teams, super focused on customer, I think good enough. Moving into the turquoise model for me is super hard, and I'm sure that the business world, how would they do it? But I think if you become an agile company, good enough. Any other questions? Or Tatiana replied, I hope that's not a follow-up question, Tatiana, to the one you wrote in the thread, but Okay, Sebastian is typing, so let me give a chance, Sebastian, to ask your maybe final tough question. And then, oh, okay.
I had
Oh,
it.
you're good. Woo! Got through that one. Woo! Thank you. Thank you for the tough questions. It's always good. I hope I passed. If you're interested, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to chat. I love what I do, and I think agility is amazing, and I love all flavors of it. Maybe sometimes even the sour flavors, but I do love it. And I'm very happy to be having had a chance to speak to you. Super happy for inviting me. Thanks a lot. And have a great day. This was an amazing conference, an amazing group of people. So thank you very much and have a great day.